Stuart, you've just opened your summer exhibition. It's all about tennis. But before we go any further, can I just point out, because I'm sure not everybody knows this, but the museum itself is housed in a building that once was a tennis court. Explain.
Well, one of the reasons for having this exhibition was to draw attention to what is one of probably the most overlooked Georgian buildings in the city of Bath, which is this tennis court. It was built in 1777 by a local entrepreneur who owned a riding school. And part of the idea of the exhibition was to show how the game has developed in the city from an indoor sport played in a huge hall like this building to something that everybody plays on corporation courts and in the garden or watches Wimbledon. So it's gone from being, a very specialist niche entertainment to being something that everybody does.
I wonder if they served strawberries in this building when tennis started. Would we have recognized the game back then in the 18th century?
Probably you would have recognized it as being more like squash. I mean, the ball was played off the walls as well as off the floor. The ball is not rubber, so it doesn't bounce. I mean, real tennis balls were made of kind of cloth stuffed with feathers or cotton. So it was a rather more strenuous game because the ball didn't help you apart from anything else. But you probably would recognise it just about. I mean, the court, the way the game is scored is very similar, just about.
Now, tennis didn't last very long in this building, did it?
No.
But the good news is for tennis fans everywhere that it did pretty well elsewhere. And the whole story of the development of the game and the social aspects of the way people dressed when they were playing tennis is all part of this exhibition.
It is. I mean, it's the game moving outdoors, you might say, to how we recognise it today, simplifies everything. And it's made possible by India rubber being used for balls and the lawnmower. I mean, it's kind of a crucial invention is the invention of something which will cut grass so you can have a flat surface on which you can play the game outdoors. And all the other things could have come afterwards. People having a bit more money to spend. And I suppose the thing that really popularizes it is the simplification of costume. Because when it starts, and you can see some of these kind of pantomime outfits they're wearing behind.
How did the ladies move?
Well, it's a very good question. I mean, given that they at least to start with, they were persuaded to wear corsets at the time.
Good Lord.
I mean, medical opinion was such that corsets were good because they kept all your vital organs in place. That's a quote, by the way. But I think it must have been almost impossible, particularly in the summer.
That's not sport, that's torture.
It is. It must have been difficult. I mean, these are women's outfits. I think for men, ironically, I mean, it was easier. I mean, they just wore white trousers and a white shirt. But yes, I think that because the costumes became easier to wear, it became more popular.
Before we go any further, is tennis a British invention?
Lawn tennis is. The idea of having playing outdoors. I mean, the game that you played indoors is largely. I mean, it's largely a French invention. I mean, people had been playing outdoor games with balls in the streets, hitting things around for a long time, since the Middle Ages. I mean, it's in France where it's kind of made into a systematic game. I mean, they lay down the rules.
Something more formal.
Yeah, it's a more formal arrangement, and then that's when it comes indoors because it's adopted by wealthy aristocrats to play the game rather than the hoi polloi playing out in the marketplace. And that's when it becomes this kind of elite specialist game, which it then goes outdoors again in the 19th century. It's strange.
Is the tennis ball a British invention?
The rubber tennis. I mean, rubber is something which vulcanized rubber, comes from the United States. Goodyear is the person who in the United States, develops the process of making rubber a kind of stable substance. Bradford-on-Avon is the first place in this country where rubber products are manufactured.
Wow.
The Spencer Moulton factory in Bradford-on-Avon is the first place in England, in the United Kingdom, where they make rubber products. And Prices of Box, who helped sponsor the exhibition, who supplied all sorts of information, are the only manufacturer in this country of tennis balls. They supply tennis balls for Wimbledon in a, I don't think they'd mind me saying, a modest factory on the outskirts of Box is the only place where you can get balls in this country.
That is most certainly a fascinating fact. What do you hope people take away from coming to see this exhibition?
Well, I suppose the first thing that struck me is how all of these sports and entertainment and the building of this tennis court is a business. Sport is a business. It falls within the museum's remit because it's a commercial activity. I mean, the people who built this court in the 1770s didn't do it for the good of their health. It was part of the city's 18th century development, and how it becomes in the 19th century, it sort of democratized. It becomes a game which everyone is familiar with, and television comes along and everyone can watch Wimbledon and that kind of thing. And I think it's partly to take away a different aspect of the history of Bath over the last 250 years. And partly the fact that Bath is has always been a place of business, although it might not look like it.
Business and industry. And you said 250 years, you're celebrating an anniversary as well as Jane Austen and JMW Turner.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this year's, in 2 years' time, the museum will be 50 years old.
Wow.
The museum in 2 years' time will be 50 years old. 250 years old. Sorry.
The building itself.
Yeah, the building itself will be 250 years old in 2 years' time. So, there are all sorts of reasons why we thought this would be a good time to do the exhibition.